Good morning, everyone. Hello. Oh. All right. Hopefully that'll, let's see. That'll fix it now. All right. We should be live on Twitch and YouTube. Oh, God damn it. It always wants to change it back to Minecraft. I don't understand you, Twitch. Why do you hate me? I don't always want to play Minecraft. In fact, I very rarely want to play Minecraft. I don't know what to do. I'm terrible at Minecraft. Wow. Alright, let's get to the freaking book, y'all. It's not showing on stream. It's being a jerk. Okay, book one. Yeah. Modern Witchcraft. There we go. And let's see. It is showing on Discord, and it is showing on stream. Okay, I think everything's good. All right. Now is a good time to get a snacky snack, a drinky drink, and for me to realize that I am so washed out. Wow. Bless LA. Calm the fuck down. Actually, this morning on my walk, I actually did a little prayer to Helios. And then I tried to record it because I was like, oh, wait, I did Helios, Apollo, Gaia, and Uranus, which is really funny because Gaia and Uranus, like, we're gonna talk about those too in this week's chapter. Yeah, we are. But then I tried to record it and just forgot everything I said, which is really funny because that happens so much, especially when like impromptu prayers. But as I said, we are talking about Aphrodite today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the other deities I mentioned. Get your drinky drink or your snacky snack. I have mine. I've mostly drank it already. My mic is now no longer muted. Let me just grab some lo-fi beats for our friends on the streams. Also, so my brain's not bored as shit. There's our favorite lo-fi thing that doesn't get us in trouble, right? Alright, so let's see. What page are we on here? We are on 134. If you don't know where the book is, you can get it if you're part of our Discord server. I see y'all out. I see y'all lurking on the streams. There we go. So I'll put the link there to our Discord server. And again, for those of you who are already in the server, go ahead and check out the book club section if you'd like to get the download of this book, which is, let's go to the top here so you guys can see it. Page 134. Modern Witchcraft with the Greek Gods. Ignore the buzzing noise. Just let me enjoy my day off. Alright, so what I love about this book, by the way, is not only, again, just because we haven't talked about it a little bit, not only do we have our authors, but throughout the book, you guys can see here, each section has guest passages. We don't read those or go through them, they're just personal experiences, but I do think it's a cool aspect, as well as each chapter has some magic spells and rituals that we can do. Alright. I want to go through and do like all the spells in the book. Well, all that I could use, you know, ones that actually matter to me. By the way, way, anyone in the Discord server, you are encouraged to share your thoughts and opinions, regardless of whether or not you've read the text. Same for everyone on stream. In the chat, and if anyone wants to actually come up and talk, that's totally fine. Just follow the rules for the server. I'm gonna turn this down. Too much. I'm sure there's a way to figure out how to play the music on the Discord server as well, but I just haven't figured it out. All right, so Aphrodite. There are 2 stories, like so many of the other gods, for the birth story of Aphrodite. One of the most popular one is the castration of Uranus, which we're gonna get to. But when most people think of the ocean, they think of like Poseidon, right? But Aphrodite is also a goddess of waters, and in some versions of the myth, she's the oldest of the Olympians because. So Uranus and Gaia had a bunch of kids. Uranus was like, I don't want kids, so I'm just gonna like toss them in Tartarus. Because he didn't think they were pretty, apparently. It's a dumb reason to throw somebody in Tartarus, I'm just saying. My opinion. So Gaia then was like, yo, Kronos, my child, go, and if he doesn't like how his kids look, then maybe he shouldn't have fucking kids. Which I think is hilarious. And so they're like, cool, we're gonna castrate Uranus. What? That's a pretty, okay. So when they castrated Uranus, when the genitals touched the ocean, Aphrodite emerged from the sea foam. And that's where we see the image that's one of the most popular ones in ancient art, which is Aphrodite with the sea, like basically standing in a giant seashell, right? Oh, scantily clad, aka wearing nothing, except her amazing golden hair, right? So that's like the most popular, and of course the art absolutely helped. It's one of the most popular artistic depictions of Aphrodite. And one of the things that I want to talk about, which is actually something I don't hear a lot about Aphrodite, because of course the sea foam born goddess, I don't hear a lot about talking about like water and her relation to the ocean and the changing of the tides and all of that. So Aphrodite emerged from the sea and into the sky, forever straddling the 2 worlds, right? And her ability to be part of more than just waters is why Aphrodite is especially favored by sailors and why she is known as she of the sea, right? Not one of her most popular epithets. Epithet's just another name for like a title. I don't think I've ever explained that on stream. But there's the other story that Homer believed that Aphrodite was the daughter of Zeus and Dione. Now, as it says, there's not a lot known about Dione, but she was an Oceanid, whatever. She was the daughter of the Titans, Oceanus and Thetis. Thetis? I don't know. And if Hesiod was correct in the assumptions about Dione, then Aphrodite's parentage would again represent the mingling of the sky and the sea. So regardless of which story you subscribe to, Aphrodite is the goddess of the sky and the sea. Aphrodite is both a much beloved and much, I had to go look up this word, maligned god, I don't know how to say this, goddess. Basically, they were talking shit about her because in popular fiction, she often comes across as spoiled and narcissistic, very vain, and like, not great. Think of like season 1 of like Hercules and Xena, right? She's beautiful, but she's like all self-involved. But like as the story goes on, as we get to know her better, we see more of the different facets of Aphrodite. Again, really great progression of character throughout that series. Love that. And I'm actually going to mention again when we talk a little bit later about a different aspect of Aphrodite. But mainly, she was a super powerful goddess that held a lot of sway, both in power and in like You know that friend that if they have an opinion on something, you trust them so much that like you'll be like, oh, okay, you're probably right. Yeah. That friend. Aphrodite is the friend. The one who's like, ooh, see it my way, darling. And they're like, oh yeah, you're kinda right. Yeah, okay. Okay. I hear you. I see you, girl. Music's a little loud for me. So when people think of Aphrodite today, they think of like love and beauty, and those are often like the first things that come to mind. Now, we have mentioned the sky and the sea. We have mentioned that, you know, she has a lot of soft power, right? She's not necessarily bitch slapping somebody. She could if she wanted to, but she doesn't need to, right? But what other things, like I'd love to see you guys throw in the chat, like what other aspects come to mind when you think of like Aphrodite? What, you know, what other epithets do you think of? And yeah, I just thought I'd give you all the opportunity because like Aphrodite actually covers quite a breadth of topics, of areas. And of course, when we come to love, there are the 7 types of love, which I will die on the fucking podium of. So it's not just about like, it's not about being vain or self-involved necessarily. There's also self-love and love of friends and family. But again, that still all falls under the category of like love and beauty and like the beauty of life, right? So just giving y'all some, I'm just stalling. Okay, so the story of Aphrodite involves a lot of mingling. Wait, I wanted to hide this. She's the goddess of Maxis, which is mingling. So Aphrodite's story involves at least 2 outside forces mixing together. Think of the waters of life, right? We had to have that nice swirly whirlpool of all of the primordial goop, right? To create the chemicals and the things necessary to create life, right? So the mingling of both sky and sea. Obviously, then those 2 are like very sacred to the goddess and to humanity, right? If the oceans were turbulent, you ain't going nowhere. And a lot of people, especially Greece, did a lot of trading by sea as well. So that's very important. If it was cloudy, if there wasn't enough sun, if it was pouring rain, your crops would be in trouble, right? So those are 2 very sacred aspects to the goddess, but they're also very important to humanity. But one of the first aspects of Aphrodite is the aspect of mingling. This girl knew how to work a crowd, right? Walks into a room, everyone's dead silent, eyes on this bitch, and then she's just fluttering around being like, everyone, have you met this person? Have you met that person? So not just mingling of like physical things, but also mingling of people, of social statuses. She's just the goddess who's like, I'm just crossing all sorts of all sorts of lines of society. I don't give a shit. And we're going to also come back to that mingling and aspects of different classes of society in a bit. Yeah, this is what happens when I go and like, I read ahead. I mean, I hope everyone read ahead. So in vein with the mingling, not about the classes, but Aphrodite, like many of the gods, became associated with other deities. And so this is, we're going to talk about some of this connection briefly. I did really wish that they went more into this because I did take a goddesses class a long time ago. And I really loved how we talked about the connections between certain deities like Aphrodite along with Ishtar and Astarte. I don't think I'm saying that right. But the connection between them is like, some would say is like this, they said unconventional depictions of those goddesses. What's cool, and I actually didn't know this, but there are bearded versions of both Ishtar and Aphrodite, which and all 3 goddesses have like a male equivalent, right? Love, war, Aphrodite, Ares, which is also one of her lovers, and that implies a certain amount of androgyny. Seeing as Aphrodite again has the aspect of mingling, has the aspect of crossing those like societal not necessarily like bounds, but what's the word? I've been streaming forever, darling. Like I've been on streaming since not only on HH, but not only on this platform, Helena Carroll, but like also on other channels, probably since 2020, 2019. So yeah, welcome to the channel. We talk about paganism and Hellenic polytheism here, and this week today we're doing our book club on magic and witchcraft with the Greek gods, and obviously we're talking about Aphrodite. All three goddesses had a bit of androgyny associated with them, which makes sense because again of that crossing the lines of society. Astarte and Aphrodite also share the term heavenly as a descriptor, as an epithet, right? Astarte was queen of heaven, and Aphrodite was often described as heavenly Aphrodite. That is actually one of the epithets that I'm more familiar with, or that I see a lot. And basically, it's another way of saying divine and glorious Aphrodite, right? You who are about the embodiments of all things that are good and lovely, except as we go into later. And there's the idea that Aphrodite was like a newcomer to the Greek pantheon because she wasn't mentioned in the Linear B tablets. Remember, there's Linear A and Linear B. Two different tablets, one on an island and one on the mainland, that were completely done separate of each other, but often have help us point to things like when things were first mentioned. So whether or not a deity was added to the pantheon later, think of Dionysus, and also Aphrodite. I feel like Aphrodite just may have gone and was like, I'm gonna go say hi to everyone over here, I'll be right back. Because like if you look at the stories from Homer and I'm dying here, the Iliad and the Odyssey, excuse me, I need to sneeze. Sorry guys. Then she had an early origin story, early backstory. But again, that she wasn't in the Linear B tablets. So question mark. Again, I feel like bitch took a vacation or just went on a little trip. This is obviously me just purely shooting shit, but like there is that aspect of like dealing with Uranus and Gaia and like the beginning, right? Now, again, the realms that Aphrodite governs has quite a big deal of mingling, and I'm just going to read this whole section here. As the goddess of love and intimacy, Aphrodite is all about living one's sexual life, truth, whatever, on their own terms. She never apologized for taking lovers, both mortal and divine, outside of her marriage to Hephaestus. I still think they had an open polyamorous marriage. That's just me. It's like my fucking opinion. Because also, now critical writers look at Aphrodite in such instances as promiscuous and adulterous, but the better word is empowered. I 100% agree. Aphrodite owns her sexual identity and does so without coercing or forcing people to her bed. Aphrodite's lovers truly, I mean, look, if I had the opportunity with a god, I probably would. But that being said, there was no, I'm a god, therefore, like, obey, bitch. It was, I'm amazing. How could you not? Right? So I love that aspect of it, and the fact, again, that there's no mention of any coercing or anything like that. She's very much, I am me. You want it? Come get it. If you don't, that's fine. I don't need you. And I love that attitude. I love that, that mama said that it was okay. That's what it, right? She's like, it's fine to like be yourself in all aspects of your life. Full stop. Okay? Just be nice. Be nice. And like, enthusiastic consent, right? But I mentioned we were getting to it. Aphrodite has some other aspects that people tend to forget about. I remember when I was streaming with Corey in the Minecraft quite a long time ago, we loved to talk about this so fucking much. Aphrodite was also a war deity. She had a warlike aspect to her, and I'm just going to explain it like this, y'all. if you've ever had a partner that you're like, I fucking love this person, or anybody, regardless of partner or not. I have my bestie, my best friend, Becky. Love her. 2 bits. I would literally take a bullet for this bitch. 150%. If someone was getting up in her face, I would 100% punch a bitch out, okay? Think of it like that. And I often say, like, look, if you have an army of people who are afraid of you, they're only your army until the next scarier person comes along. If you have an army of people who fucking love you, they will happily run to their deaths in your name. If that ain't the absolute, like, explanation of the warlike aspect of Aphrodite, I don't know what is. So Aphrodite, although she wasn't a war deity like Ares or Athena, she definitely got her hands dirty. She was not above getting her hands dirty. I love that. And I just realized I did something similar a while ago. Never be afraid to get your hands dirty, even if you're wearing something pretty. Why? Because of course Aphrodite was always like dressed up, here for the occasion, right? Let's go, bitch. I remember I was wearing a white, like, essentially a white formal party, like, I would call it a gown, when I went on this boat trip, this canal trip in England, and it had, some shoulder drapery, like shoulder capes, right? They were long, they went all the way almost down to the ground. And again, I was on a boat trip. And we need to do what's called locks, which means it's a, don't even worry about it. But we had to get out and get dirty, right? And I was like, well, we needed an extra pair of hands. And there was someone who was asleep and there was me who was awake. And I went, I don't care that I'm wearing a pretty dress. I literally threw those shoulder things around me like a freaking scarf, hiked up my skirt, hiked up the dress a little bit, and like, literally like hiked it up because I was also wearing a belt into the belt and got out and was like, let's go. And they, like, the other people were like, you fucking kidding me? And I was like, no. Why? Because just because you are fine as hell and, you know, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're amazing or beautiful or whatever, you're looking good, queen, yes, does not mean you are above getting your hands dirty. Aphrodite proves this. Mama said that it was okay. So she was depicted in several of her temples as wearing like armor and like being armed with like spears and shit. Because again, she was not above protecting what she loved, right? That's the idea. I don't care if I have to get my hands dirty. I love these people or I love this person and I am willing to do whatever it takes. The Roman goddess was more connected to war than she was though. And I want to just point out we do have a time, we have a date here. So the beauty of Aphrodite and Aphrodite's art, I think we go back to the war aspect a bit. Yeah, I think we do. So a lot of art of Aphrodite, like we know Aphrodite because a lot of stuff depicting her like continued to exist. Again, she was very popular. We can see why. But they mentioned something in here which I really wish they'd gone into like a more depth into, to be honest. Because I'm gonna read it to you. The beauty of Aphrodite and the art that was inspired by her are most likely the reasons for Aphrodite's prominence in art, but there's also another reason that was often overlooked. Aphrodite was often portrayed naked. While nudity was not taboo in ancient Greece, portraying the goddess sky-clad in her birthday suit was not common. Aphrodite was an exception to this rule. Her nudity and sheer beauty without outside assistance was part of what made the goddess so revered in the ancient world. That's pretty much all they said. And I'm like, really? You talk about the thing that like nudity was the thing? Which I guess is really the explanation that like she didn't need anything else, right? Girl was beautiful, didn't need any this. For everyone who ever needed this validation, you don't need pretty dresses or jewelry or makeup or whatever. If those things make you feel good, fucking wear it. But Mama said that it was okay. You are beautiful just the way you fucking are. That being said, again, I wish they'd gone into a little bit more detail about why specifically the nudity was the thing, in a little more detail, and maybe some sources more about that. But again, we see here that mingling, that crossing of societal bounds and like cultural like expectations of modesty. She didn't need it. She didn't need to be modest. She was fine as hell. Baby, if you're a 10 out of 10, you shine like the brightest fucking star in the sky. And she did. Hydrate or die straight, bitches. I like how I get on here and I'm like, let's talk about educational stuff. Let me swear like a goddamn sailor. Fun thing, so if anyone knows the creator Anna Akana, she recently did a little scientific recap, is what I call them, of why swearing actually shows more honesty and trustworthiness, because it is not, like, there's no filter, basically. You're not filtering, you're not being conscious and, you know, actively monitoring your language, therefore it is the most honest you can be. You heard it here, if you swear, you're a more honest person. So go around and say fuck 20 times a day. I don't know. Alright, now that I've got my drink made. So, the beauty of Aphrodite was such that she required no adornment. But when it came to dressing up, applying makeup, etc., Aphrodite knew spending time on one's appearance was a form of glamour magic. If you haven't heard of glamour magic, now you have. It's magic done by, like, doing yourself up, right? This is why she invested in fine jewelry, clothing, cosmetics, and perfume. She invested in herself. That's what she did. She invested in herself, in her inner power, so that she can walk out there and strut her stuff. I mean, Aphrodite didn't need any of that shit, and neither do you. But if that shit empowers you, right, back to that word empowerment, fucking do it. Mama said it's okay. Another word that is often used to describe Aphrodite is smiling Aphrodite. Now, they're saying here, the author is thinking that her smile is seductive. I disagree. Because I tell you what, something that I have also complimented people on, and people have complimented me on, is that genuine, like, big smile. People see that, they notice it, and it is hella attractive. It's you light up a room. So I don't necessarily agree that it's maybe a seductive smile, because they're saying, like, it's because she knew she was in control of whatever situation she was in. Absolutely. If you are feeling yourself and you have that confidence and you feel empowered, of course, but also radiate your soul. That's it. That's my only comment. So here we're going to get a little bit into Venus. Conflated. She was often conflated. People conflated the popular image, whatever, Aphrodite and Venus. And they also mentioned that, like, Venus might be, they actually mentioned it down here, that maybe that perhaps the title of Venus became so associated with Aphrodite is because Aphrodite is a little bit of a long name. So is Victoria. So, like, I understand how much it's easier to work with in poems and verse and epics, etc. So, but as was the case with other deities in Rome, Venus absorbed most of Aphrodite's myths and legends, but the two goddesses are also very different. The Romans, not only was Venus more warlike, but Venus was also associated with, like, more flowering gardens, more earth, fertility, springtime, things that Aphrodite wasn't necessarily connected with, right? Aphrodite herself, like, had kids. Eros, for example, was more associated with the sexual aspect of love and romance. Aphrodite is the all-encompassing. Aphrodite is the 7 forms of love embodied. But she has kids that are also a little bit more specific. Not all the types of styles, but, like, I'm just saying. So they also honored Venus as Venus Genitrix, which is the mother, right? And they honored her as, like, the divine mother of the Romans. So that became a thing. Very similar to how within the it's not heathenry. It's what's the word for the Egyptians? Kemetic. There we go. Pretty sure that's right. Within the Kemetic or the Egyptian, think of like the ancient Egyptian pharaohs and stuff. They would often be associated or, connected to the deity in some way, right? And they would serve as like the liaisons, essentially. And so essentially they were considered like divine. So this also happened. I mean, look, if you're related to somebody like really big and important, you're probably gonna mention it at some point, right? So the Roman general Julius Caesar traced his lineage back directly back to Aeneas. Oh, you guys are killing me with all the vowels here. Elias, I don't fucking know. And thereby incorporating Venus into his family tree, right? Nothing says king. That's not supposed to be kind. That's supposed to say king. Victoria and her ability to spell things is so great. Nothing says king like being related to a god, right? So, okay, well, Aphrodite was no stranger to war. Venus had much more of a militaristic nature than Aphrodite did. Being the divine mother of Rome, it was like, she's the protector of Rome because she's the mother, right? As well as covering the things that help function, keep the Roman Empire going, right? Keeping the cogs turning. So she also became a goddess of bureaucracy and a protector of civil servants. Little quick mention of some popular, some pop culture. So they said here, as I mentioned, perhaps Aphrodite was simply too long of a name, while Venus had simple 2 syllables, right? And people, wrote songs. A song named Venus, which is an ode to the goddess of love, had been at the top of Billboard charts twice by the Dutch group Shocking Blue, and then another one by the English trio Bananarama, in 1986. So, and I love this. We're still waiting for songs dedicated explicitly to Aphrodite to the top of the charts. I'm very sure there are. They may not mention Aphrodite's name because of the reason of that it's a little difficult to work with linguistically. Excuse me. So Aphrodite is obviously popular for witches today. As we mentioned, glamour magic is a thing. Aphrodite has always loved mortals, often much more demonstratively than her Olympian peers. Again, Aphrodite was like, I like you for you, whether you're a mortal or divinity. I don't give a shit. So Aphrodite's embrace is welcomed by her lovers, not forced upon them. A clear difference between Aphrodite and most of the male gods who reside on Olympus. Again, we're going to throw back to the fact that times were different back then. Certain behaviors were more acceptable. So yeah. So of course the humans love her. She loves humans, right? Again, she didn't care, right? She's like, I like you. I love you guys. I will help as, with Venus protecting the civil servants. And yeah, also with her partners. Didn't give a shit. Girl was about the heart, right? Aphrodite is also intensely loyal. What did we talk about before? To those who honor her and those that she has sought out. During the Trojan War, she braved the battlefield to save Paris from certain death, and ended up magically transporting the Trojan prince to his bed and, bringing him back to his true love, Helen, right? She was also wounded by the warrior Diomedes in her attempt to intervene on behalf of her son Aeneas. Only word I know how to say that has all those freaking vowels in there. So again, she's not a stranger to getting her hands dirty if she needs to or wants to. She is fiercely protective of those whom she loves. Understandable. And in my opinion is why like she and Aries work so well, because, you know, if Athena is the strategy and Aries is the passion, we see where the connection comes in, right? And the passion to fight for things or people that you are passionate about. However, we're in July, the tail end, but nonetheless, a festival was held in memory of the mortal Adonis during July, one of Aphrodite's great lovers. It was both a celebration for the women of Athens as well as a lamentation for them. I don't think that word sounds right. So at the height of July's heat, women planted seeds in their baskets or pottery shards and placed them on their roofs. But in such a hot environment, of course, the seeds died. And when they did, the women of Athens climbed onto the roofs, probably just like a few days later or whatever, and cried in anguish together over the loss of Aphrodite's love. This is it sounds so cathartic. I love this. So, it was probably more than just a commemoration of Adonis. It was also a chance for women in Athens to purge whatever pain they had been suffering and pain and suffering they had in their hearts. If you've ever had a good fucking cry where you're just like, I'm so upset, I just need to cry, like I just need to get this out, right? That's what it is. It's getting all of that out. So you can walk through life having felt your feelings, cried it out, screamed it out, right? Get it out. And then we pick up ourselves, we put on our nice clothes, do our glamour magic, make ourselves feel better, make ourselves feel pretty, and get the fuck on with our lives. Raise your hand if you've done that. Why did I wear a gown the other day? Because I felt like shit. So, few deities in Greece offer such personal and emotional rites, making this another example of Aphrodite. I'm still yawning. Of Aphrodite's closer than usual ties with mortals. Because she understood the intricacies of the human heart, right? The thing that makes us human, our connection to each other, our understanding and knowing of ourselves, even when we're like, I say knowing yourself, like you're in it, you're in the pain, you're in the joy, you're in it, whether you are emotionally aware or not, or I hate using the word enlightened. I think aware is emotionally aware or emotionally mature. Whether or not you can identify all this stuff, like even when a baby cries, they're crying because of something is hurting them, right? They understand that and it makes them upset and therefore they cry. Aphrodite's connected to us at all ages and stages of our life. Through ourselves, through our love of our community, through the love of our friends and our families. And that is a level of emotional depth that we don't have necessarily with all of the other deities. And not just having that, but also actively celebrating it in a communal sense, or, you know, like the rites, the events, the festivals, etc. And I just wanted to read this last bit here. She can be felt when dealing with grief or experiencing the pleasures of the flesh. She is nearby when we work glamour magic, cast a love spell, don't do that, or walk along the seashore. She assists with magic for self-love and emotional healing. May the goddess of love and beauty smile upon us often and reign eternally through our lives. Praise Aphrodite. If that doesn't sound like a prayer, that needs to be a prayer. So then we have our personal insights with Aphrodite. As I mentioned, those are personal stories of people's experiences. This one was written by Jennifer. That looks like a name from like Star Trek. Teixeira, I don't know. And is a Pan-Dianic high priestess and healer living in the California Redwoods. Oh my god, I should go say hi. Visit therootcutter.com to learn more about Jennifer, read her blog, and browse her handmade specialty products. Then, of course, we have our magic, our spells. There's, of course, ones that affect others. Bewitching Aphrodite perfume. You know, you can wear this if you want to go out and, like, have a nice time. Whether it's hanging out with your friends or getting down and dirty. You don't have to bewitch someone for down and dirty. You can just have an amazing time and give that energy to Everyone. Use this scent wherever you want to surround yourself with grace and beauty. Again, not always getting down, but just filling the room with that energy, right? Love Lady Mandrake charm bag for sensuality. It says what it says. And it's one of her epithets. She of the Mandrake. Don't know why. I don't know why about Mandrake, but yeah. Mirror spell to see one's beauty. I think that that's really important, again, because we're, you know, that there's the aspect of self-love. And so many of us walk through our lives and we don't realize how beautiful we are. And I think that it's very important to notice that. And I think, like, you know, we could all use a time for some reflection, some self-reflection to see one's own self-beauty and increase our confidence, right? Mirror. And then there's a lust potion. No explanation needed there, but there's quite a decent ingredients. I love that it also includes, like, alcohol. It is optional. And there's, of course, a self-love bath ritual. I do actually sell Aphrodite bath soaks, and I think I'm actually going to edit them so that they include all of the aspects of this spell. Also because there's nothing wrong with incense and seashells and shit. So let's do it. That is the end of our chapter for this time. I love that every chapter pretty much takes an hour. I love it. It makes me so happy. But here, as we always love to point out, is the citations. I love the citations at the end of every chapter. You don't have to go look in the back of the book in this giant list, ball of text. It's there where it's relevant. Next time, we are talking about Athena, right? We just talked about how Aphrodite is not necessarily warlike like Athena or Ares is, but we are going to be talking about it. So, next time on Book Club. Page 150. Athena. All right, everyone, I just want to say a quick thank you to all of our lovely supporters. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, there's the QR code. Just scan it with your code. You'll be taken to our Patreon page. Without our supporters, we wouldn't be able to give you guys all the amazing perks that we have. Thank you big to our Patreon Temple patrons, Dugga Thugga, Affectionate Kittens, Zephyr, Sam, Mycius, Porcius. Where's my phone? And, oops, I lost it. I think Cherry. And also to our Pegasus boosters. We need to update those because we have a bunch more boosters now. That helps us have the different color names, the server logo that we used to help celebrate the deities of the month, Alistair, Anagel, Bees, Blade, and everyone else, Meow Kitty, Mercury, Nex, Robots, Vinegar, Zothic, Cherry, and Eli. Thank you guys so much for helping support us. We wouldn't be able to do all of the amazing things we do without your support.